Hello, everyone. It's Sunday once again. It's time for another episode of Ask the Drummer. We are a bit early today because our guest has to be somewhere after the show. So it's only about 6 minutes early, anyways. But I'm sure if anyone wants to join us live, you can just you know join us at 2 o'clock. Anyway. But anyways, yeah, it's just 6 minutes before 2 in the UK, and it's 6 minutes before 9 p.m. in Manila. So welcome to another episode of Ask the Drummer. I'm really excited about today's guest because I have seen him early in the year, and he's an amazing twirler drummer. And as most of you have seen Ask the Drummer podcast, you do know that I do love drummers who can twirl, and I'm telling you, today's guest is amazing. So, my dear friends, please welcome Thomas Crowson.
Hey.
Hello, Thomas. Or is it Tommy Gunn?
Yeah, you can call me that. That's a nickname that's kind of stuck as of recently.
Yeah,
Cool.
and it's
Yeah,
Crowson.
Tommy or Tom or Thomas is cool.
Yeah, and Crowson.
Yeah, it's Crowson.
Crowson. How are you?
The tongue twister. Yeah, I'm okay, thank you. Been busy. I finished like university recently, so it's been a bit of a roller coaster.
Yeah, yeah,
How about
and
yourself?
you're going to be at the gig later today, so hopefully we'll try, to finish as soon as possible so you can go to your gig as well. So,
Yeah, so
um,
I'm playing. Yeah, I'm
yeah.
playing gig a little bit late this afternoon. It's a festival actually. It's Godiva Festival in Coventry. So
Oh, right. Is that where you live at the moment? Are you in Coventry?
no, I'm in Wolverhampton at the moment. Have been all my life. But
Oh, okay.
I've always been around that Black Country area. Hence like the strong accent, I guess.
Oh, okay. um, I said earlier that I saw you in January in Manchester at the Pear Hat, and the night before you performed there was another band who actually saw more or less the same as you, doing lots of twirls and everything.
Yeah,
And I remember posting on Facebook after your gig that I think 2023 is the year of the twirler drummer. I think it's just amazing. But anyways, we're gonna start now. So welcome to Ask the Drummer. Episode 85 is all about you, Thomas Crowson, or Tommy. So were you born in Wolverhampton? You said?
yes, I was. Yeah, I was born in Wolverhampton. Haven't moved very much. Really. I've lived in a couple of places in Wolverhampton. Um, but yeah, Wolverhampton, born and bred myself.
All right. And that's the home of Slade, right? Wolverhampton Slade.
I didn't know that one.
No?
Um, I know. Like we've got the Slade rooms. We've got like the New Hampton Art Centre building as well as like some cool stages that go on there as well. And they've got the Civic as well. Not sure.
Yeah.
I think one of them's been like rebuilt or something like that. I'm not too sure which one.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've also got the Robin too. So my friend's band's playing a gig there in a couple of weeks. That should be good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
it's a great
I
venue.
was in I was in Wolverhampton like a few weeks ago to see Susie Sue.
Yeah,
And she played at the Civic at the Halls. I think it was reopened.
yeah,
Reopened recently. It's a brilliant venue. I really
yeah.
like that venue there.
I think Blur
But
played recently,
yeah,
didn't they? Yeah,
pardon.
I think Blur played recently, didn't they?
Yeah,
In Wolverhampton,
yeah.
yeah.
I was told that. Yeah, I was told they were the ones who actually reopened that venue. It was Blur because it shut down for quite some time, didn't it?
Yeah, it was, yeah. bit of a dead end there
Yeah.
at that point.
Yeah.
We're glad it's
So,
back open.
yeah. So, are you from a musical family?
I am actually, yeah. It's just my mother who plays. She's kind of classically trained, like flute, clarinet, piccolo, I think as well. A little bit. She plays a little bit of piano, but she used to play in. She used to do like these competitions and stuff in the area, and she used to compete against all the players. And then she went on to. She currently teaches for a place called Five Starts, who send like music teachers out across like Warsaw.
Oh, right.
So yeah, there's only us two in the family that are musicians. That's kind of herited through, I guess. You can
Yeah.
only imagine. You can only imagine her face when I told her I wanted to learn drums instead of flute.
Yeah. I was sort of like gonna say. So, what got you into drumming? Was there sort of like some point that you saw someone played the drums and you wanted to be like that person?
Okay, so yeah, I've been asked this a few times actually. So so back back in the day when I was a bit younger, probably like sort of like year 4 or 5 age. I used to sing in this choir, sort of typical sort of like youth choir, and then we do like these some like concerts around Warsaw and that that sort of area. And but the one time we did a concert at Symphony Hall in Birmingham,
Yeah. Yeah.
and we had a live band play with us. We was doing like some classics like it was like Jailhouse Rock. Yeah, sorry if you can hear my dog barking. But we did some classics like Jailhouse Rock and some other sort of famous like like choir songs. And then I just remember being like really really fascinated by the way the drummers felt and the way that they carried the band and like made like made us feel musically.
Yeah.
And as a child, I was quite a shy child really. So it was a bit of a shock to everyone, like the shy child, wanting to learn this sort of big loud instrument. Yeah, and then I just took up drum lessons at a local music shop.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think I was 8 when I started playing. I'm 21 now, so it's been a good while.
All right. But did you try learning other instruments? Like your mom played all sorts of musical
Yeah.
instruments. Did you try learning other
And
ones?
I think she tried to get me into the flute once. It just wasn't for me.
Oh,
And then at one point, it was kind of like quite early on, like after I started playing drums, I started kind of having a go at playing trumpet as well, and that it just wasn't my cup of tea.
oh,
Yeah, so back to the drums for me.
yeah. So you started early,
Yeah, I'd say so.
and I think I could tell that you obviously had drum lessons, like proper drum lessons.
Yeah, it's just a thing that's always been kind of seen as like the way forward for me because my mum always had like a flute teacher, and I mean you've seen a lot more self-taught players nowadays. I think,
Yeah.
and there are I personally think there are like pros and cons to that, but it's always good to have someone to almost like look up to, like a role model when you're playing, and that's what I found sort of helped me, and it's sort of the reason. I got like a drum teacher and taught me like all the basics, and I went through a few drum teachers. One of my teachers, he taught me sort of like how to play sort of like more army based, sort of like rolls and things on the snare drums. He actually went and played in like the military band.
All right. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Well, yeah, before we continue, Aiden said that sound and picture A-okay. I mean, Aiden is my tech support. He's my husband. So he does all the technical stuff. And he said that he was at the Robin a couple of weeks ago to see Eric Bell, and that's a great venue as well. I haven't been to the Robin, but I've heard so much about it. So,
Good venue.
yeah, so continue on. I've read when I was sort of like Googling your name and everything, I've read that you're an avid reader of sheet music for drums, which I'm
Yeah.
so like That's a bit unusual because I don't think I've actually had a drummer guest where they're sort of like saying that they have sheet music when they play drums. So what's all that? So like what's all that about?
So it kind of came from like the way that I was taught through the years. It was kind of ingrained quite early on for me that it was important that I learned how to read drum music. And I've met drummers that that can read and can't read. It's a bit of an argument nowadays, really, whether it's still relevant and useful. But kind of came from sort of like the orchestral and like big jazz band scene as well. So, and it was like kind of a requirement to go out and in order to go out and gig in those scenes that you kind of had to read. And then like my
Yeah,
teacher like do like the drum grades and stuff like graded music exams. I was kind of brought up around that and almost the fact that it's a necessity. So and it's kind of like transcended into the way that I learn material for gigs now. So I'll create almost like a condensed version, not like a full transcription, but I could get like a condensed version of that, as part of like my show prep. Um,
yeah, yeah.
and like some guys I've spoke to, I've had conversations with other players. They purely learn things by memory and ear, and I think because of that sort of upbringing that I had with reading, it just feels way more normal to do that now and apply that
But
into like more contemporary settings.
is that like the same with say pop songs or rock songs or the ones that you do with Alex Holm,
Yeah.
with the band? Do you have sheet music for that as well, or uh,
Um,
how do
uh,
you learn so like the drum part, say for Alex Holm songs?
so when I got the call, with Alex, actually joined like through sort of lockdown, kind of discovered on Instagram, got an audition, and then I just transcribed all the like drum parts that I got sent over, and that's kind of like helps me memorize them in a way, and then it will get to a point where like eventually I don't need those transcriptions, or that sheet music, and it kind of and it, almost like when I'm playing, I can almost like visualize what it would like that certain phrase look like on on the sheet music, and that's kind of how I learn how like my methodology between like learning things and picking things up quite sometimes quite quick,
Yeah. Well,
but not
say
so much now.
yeah, say that you hear a particular sort of like music or a song on the radio, or just say when you're walking out, and so how? Because some drummers they actually sort of like learn it by ear.
Yeah.
So they or either they'll play a record, listen to it, and then just sort of like learn the drum parts of that song. So you actually sort of like listen to it, but then you turn it into a sheet music.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
It's just the way I was learning things. One actually, I'm quite a visual learner, rather than I can learn stuff by ear, but it's not going to be. I know for myself, it's not going to be as accurate as if I like kind of did like some doodles and wrote some little notes down. Um,
Oh
but like
wow.
the thing that gets used most in my sort of like gig bag is, and like rehearsal drum bag would be like a piece of paper and also I'll score piece of paper and pen. I'll just jot stuff down in rehearsals and
Wow,
little things like that.
that's amazing. are there sort of like a lot of drummers who do this the same thing, or is it just because you're classically trained that
Um, yeah, so I was always just brought up around that sort of like the need to read almost. It's ingrained from such a young age that
yeah, yeah.
it just feels natural. Um, Especially like from
Wow.
like the jazz scene, like the big band jazz scenes, and yes,
Yeah,
so jazz charts are like way different to like an orchestral arrangement. You'll get like it's almost like a more like a condensed version. Um, you won't get like a full like 3-page sort of like piece. But if you can get it to like if the arranger kind of condense that 1 page on, that they will just for convenience.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, because you can do all styles of drumming, like rock, pop, jazz, funk, even like prog rock as well. With all these sort of like loads of drum drum stuff.
Yeah.
But there's because I've seen a documentary about drums and drummers actually, and there is a big difference between a rock drummer and a jazz drummer, right?
Yeah.
So is this sort of like, say you're going to a rock gig and it's sort of like a big band, a big jazz band gig. How difficult or how easy for you to sort of like adjust or adapt to this difference or sort of like?
So if I was, the first thing I think about is how like I'm going to set up my kit. So if I'm going to like a jazz setting, then I'll take like certain. I've got like a few like cymbal options, like a few sound options, like a few snare drum options. I know roughly I can kind of picture like what the setup would look like. I'd also kind of think about like the sticks I use. For like a jazz gig, I'm more likely to be able to to have to use like brushes, for example. It's kind of what I take, so like to the gig will like change slightly, and then also the size of the sticks I'm using for something for like a
Yeah,
rock gig. I want like a heavier sort of stick to get a bit more bite off the snare drum, for example. Or then if I'm going to be like playing a little bit lighter, like like a jazz setting, but still quite prominent on the cymbals, I'm going to be kind of using a different different tips for this, different shape tip for the stick
yeah,
I'll be using.
yeah,
And then almost like for the jazz gig, I'd almost wear. It's like it's quite a typical thing, really. Like with jazz gigs, you mean like wearing all black or like black and a white tee, like a white dress shirt.
yeah,
So
yeah.
like, I'll kind of just take a spare. If I'm wearing like a black shirt, take a white shirt just in case. I wasn't told the dress code. I just automatically assume all black. Like,
So the drum kit itself is different. The setup of the drum kit is different if it's a jazz
yeah,
gig or if it's a rock gig.
yeah. Typically speaking, for myself, I'd have less for a jazz gig, but then also on like a rock gig, I'm quite a minimalist in terms of like my ideal setup. I might just have like a couple um, more cymbals for the rock gig, some different like sound options, some heavier sounds, so like a China cymbal.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm quite a minimalist, but yeah, I think like the rock gig would have it would have some more variety on it.
That's really interesting. Like,
That's my
yeah,
take.
yeah. I find that really interesting. Good, because you are. I think you see yourself as a session drummer, a
Yeah,
professional session drummer, but you are currently in a band. You are a member of that band,
yeah.
Alex Ohm. Is this your first band, or were you in other bands before Alex Ohm?
I say this is sort of Alex is sort of like my first like, professional going on the road out and gigging band. I was involved like kind of up and coming like some like rock projects in Warsaw, kind of kind of with outside funding through like kind of like companies like almost like youth centers and things like that. And then like I've got a lot of experience, from the big band and the concert band thing, like kind of going out and playing in. I've played in sort of like some of the big churches in like Sutton Coldfield, kind of with the orchestras. But a lot like early on, a lot of that gigging experience came from the big band and orchestras. But
Yeah,
nowadays more, I'm kind of found myself doing less of that and going into more sort of like gigging bands. I tend to do a lot of depths for artists at the moment as well. That's
yeah,
kind of been like the main fun. But Alex, that's like my first sort of like going out on the road sort of band, and it's been it's been great. So professionally, kind of going out and gigging, I've been playing for quite a while, but almost like traveling big lengths for gigs and kind of going up and down the country. I've only been doing it since the end of lockdown, really. So I'm quite early into that whole sort of pro sort of like touring thing. I did play a gig in Portugal for my friend's band. So that was like my first sort of international date back in February. That was that was an experience. It was awesome.
Well, we've got to say that Alex Holm is also the name of the singer. It's not just the name of the band, but also because has he ever thought about maybe making it Alex Holm and the something, or they just sort of like keep it as Alex Holm? Even
it's one of those. There's like pros and cons with it, I guess. There's a couple of bands actually that have kind of started off as like sort of like kind of people playing for the artist, and then they've kind of evolved and got a permanent lineup and changed the name. It's I can't speak for the future, but currently it's just we're just known as Alex. So
yeah, but you're the current lineup that you've got now, like the four of you. How long has that been? How long has it been going?
So the four of us, so I'm the newest addition to the band. I think it was Alex on lead vocal, and then I'm gonna get corrected if this is wrong, but I'm sure it was Stephen on lead guitar who joined, and then Stephen recruited Hannah on bass, and then I was actually discovered by Alex on Instagram, because in lockdown I was just posting quite a lot of content. I kind of took advantage of the fact that I took advantage of the fact that everyone was on the phones and consuming even more content than usual. So I decided to take that time to promote myself online quite a lot, and then I got discovered by Alex through that. I've been playing with Alex about just under two years now.
And did you already know about his music, or have you seen them perform before you joined the band?
I actually hadn't. Cause at the time I was in uni, I was at BIM Birmingham, studying popular music, and I hadn't been in like the local West Midlands, like Birmingham music scene at all. And Alex, kind of is like the first person that's introduced me to that scene, especially especially the drum scene. And I didn't really know of any of the amazing sort of local talent at the time. Through meeting people and talking to people, it's kind of like this new world was almost opened up for me.
Yeah. Because I was gonna say, you're actually from sort of like a different music scene to the, let's say, rock scene that's happening with Alex Holman, because you've got your jazz band and your orchestra and all that. So it's like you said, it's like a different world for you. I was gonna say, you also doing with your jazz and the orchestra, you've done a lot of musicals as well.
Yeah.
Like I've seen an article that says you've done School of Rock and We Will Rock You and Sister Act and all those things. So with that kind of setup, is that sort of like are you actually seen on stage, or are you sort of like, because I think with theaters the band is like somewhere down where you can hear them but you can't to see them. But is this like a different setup for you?
So it varies. To be honest, it varies on the theatre. So a few months ago, I played Greece at the Arena Theatre in Wolverhampton. So the setup in there was like we was almost like in the room next to the stage. So it was like a whole different sort of partition. We was all mic'd up, and that those mic feeds were going through straight to the sound desk. like in the box up top.
Yeah, yeah,
So you've got a lot more freedom to, if you need to like talk to each other about anything, you're not going to be sort of heard unless you talk like really really loud. You're not really going to hear anything because everyone's all mic'd up and on DIs and things like that. But on the other hand, I've played some shows where almost we're like part of the stage, so like
yeah,
kind of
yeah,
get like the architecture and stage dressing. It's kind of going over the top. So we've actually, I've done I can't remember what show it was, but we did a show where it was kind of like we had like these almost like this gate, and it was like next to us. I think it was Six the musical. I did so I sort of helped out a school show for that particular show, and almost like the band was quite interactive with the plots on stage, and there'd be like little
yeah.
anecdotes that kind of talk about the band within the storyline. And yeah, so sometimes you're depending on the musical, you're quite involved, and sometimes you are on the stage, and other times you kind of not. Sometimes you're kind of hidden inside, kind of hidden away. But if the audience really is looking hard, they can find you.
Because I think I would prefer, maybe I'm sure, because this is difficult. This is different. It's a musical. It's not actually like going to a gig and seeing a band. For a musical, you're actually there to see sort of like the story and the performers in the musical. But I think it's always nice to see the drummer playing when you know when you go to things like this. But anyways, earlier you mentioned that you just get your degree from BIM.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I thought BIM is like Birmingham Institute of Modern Music, but it actually means different. Is it British and Irish modern music? Is that what it is?
Quite honestly, I get confused with this myself. Yeah, I think it's British and Irish. Yeah, British and Irish Institute of Modern Music. I should
Yeah.
know this. This is really bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think they had like a slight rebrand. They actually until recently, there was like just an institute, and like the degree came under like a different name, but now we recently became like our own sort of university. So my cohort will be like the first cohort where it will say like the degrees from BIM University.
Oh, I see. Because there is a branch in Manchester as well.
Yeah.
That's why I know that BIM, because during lockdown, well, before we had this, when we had this COVID year, Will Sargent of Echo and the Bunnymen is supposed to do a talk at the BIM in Manchester, and I was really excited about it, but because of COVID and because of lockdown, it didn't happen. So that's how I got to know BIM, and then I found out that there's also a branch in London as well.
Yeah.
But I think it's the Birmingham one, the original BIM Institute.
I think the original one, I think it's Brighton actually.
Oh, right.
Yeah, and then it's either Brighton or Bristol. Then they expanded out,
I
and
see.
then they've got one in Hamburg, Ireland, and Berlin. No, not Hamburg. It's Berlin. Sorry. Yeah. So we get
Oh,
like
wow.
international students that kind of come across as well.
Yeah.
So it's quite it's a really nice community. Kind of brings a lot of people together. Brings introduces sort of like a lot of musical influences in that sense, and
Yeah.
it's really for like an up and coming session musician. It's it forces you to be versatile. It's
Yeah.
the look. So my take on like the industry as a whole has just like improved, quite a lot since I mean I've just finished. Like, I haven't graduated yet, but I've just finished like my studies.
Right, we are live again. Sorry about that. We still haven't figured out what's causing it. I mean, it doesn't happen a lot, but it's just sometimes, sometimes it does. And my tech support still hasn't figured out how to fix it. But anyways, we're back, and yeah, we were talking about BIM Institute. Um, but so you are, when you're not playing drums or anything, you are a drum tutor,
Yes, that's it. Yeah.
and you've been
So,
doing that for 10 years already.
so yeah, so I've been teaching since I was 16. I think I gave my first drum lesson at sort of 16, and then um, and kind of on the side, I've been doing that since. I work at my well, the shop which I first ever had lessons at. So I currently sort of teach there now. Sort of like many years later. It's in Warsaw. It's called the Warsaw Music Den.
Yeah,
A great team, great people. And then yeah, so a drummer friend of mine messaged me, and he was like, yeah, I'm thinking about leaving my teaching job. If you want, essentially if you want the job, it's yours. And I hadn't really taught before. And then as long as you, he was like, as long as you can play, to like a grade 8 sort of examination standard, you're more good. So yeah, I just jumped right into it, and then picked up with the lessons, and I've been there since. And then upon that, I teach in like a couple senior schools during the week as well.
and yeah. So you teach them like with music sheets and stuff. So it's like
Yeah,
the way you learn how to play the drums, you're sort of
yeah,
like passing on to them.
yeah. Of course. I mean, it's done me well. It's kind of like saved me, and it's got me a lot of work in the past. And yeah, so why not teach it to the
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
to the,
Can I
to,
just ask you, can anyone learn how to play the drums? Or because I always think that it's got to be in you, it's got to be in the person. It's like a natural talent. But do you think you can just teach anyone and then they learn?
yeah. I
Um,
mean, it's definitely something you can learn. You practice hard. It's almost like kind of doing like that thing like with your head, and like you tapping your chest,
yeah,
it's like that. That sort of thing. Yeah, so if you can learn, say, to do something like that, and you can learn, in my opinion, you can learn how to play drums. It's never too late. I mean, I've taught new drummers, that have been, in the 50s and 60s, and still pick things up like, like the sort of younger people do.
yeah, yeah.
Um, I've also taught somebody who started picking up drums, who was suffering from dementia. And like the started drums almost for like a memory sort of, for like a memory point of view, to help with
Oh,
that. So yeah, it's there's multiple benefits for it.
yeah, yeah,
Like any age really, it can be learned at any age. I personally think.
yeah,
You can always develop a sense of the beat and the sense of music.
yeah. Sorry about that. I mean, we live so like very near the road. So you always get all these sort of like sirens going. So do you do that? Is that the first? See, I can't really do it myself, you know.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's just practice. I mean, you can't start with like, I always start with like a sort of typical sort of like rock beat from, say, like Billie Jean. Another one, Works of Dust. Some of the classics like that. You kind of that's like the start point really, and then you kind of build it up. Get that pattern going. Get like get all your timing sorted out.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's the way. That's the way that
yeah,
I the approach that I take, along with like slightly more theoretical approach as well.
yeah. I think I'm just so
Yeah.
like too lazy, and I'd rather just watch the drummers instead of me trying to learn it or something. But anyways, I've only got a few more questions for you because I've noticed that on your Facebook account, you've got thing that it says you're a coffee addict. So, how addicted are you to coffee? I mean, how many cups of coffee do you drink a day?
Well, of course, you can't standard one in the morning. If I've got a full day of teaching, I'll probably go through like 3-4 cups in a day.
Oh, and
Yeah,
is it white
sometimes, yeah.
coffee? Is it white or black coffee or
Usually white coffee, yeah. 2
white
sugars, you
coffee?
can't go wrong. But then on, say, if I've got like a late night gig, say, you know, I drink the most coffee, you know, normally when I've got like a full teaching day on a Saturday, and then I'll go and do a gig. It's just lose track of how many I've had really. But you know, get to the gig, to sound check, and then you know, kind of, you know, proper hardcore, you know, band guys. You know, there's people there with like beers, you know, maybe a glass of Jack Daniel's whiskey, and I'm just normally just sat there with a cup of coffee, to be honest.
Does it
Very, very rock and roll.
yeah. Does it give you sort of like adrenaline or something? Or it's like you're
Yeah,
wide awake when you drink coffee all the time?
I think at that point it's maybe placebo.
Oh, yeah. Well, one of the things I asked Jim I mean, do you twirl? I do know that you twirl. The way you actually do it, is that something that comes to you naturally, or is there like a technique? Because you seem like there was one of Alex Orm's songs that you played in Manchester, and it's very sort of like it's almost like part of the way you play the drums.
Yeah,
So you twirl and then boom, twirl and then boom.
it's one of those I've found myself doing it within like the last year or so. As like kind of like overall like stage presence and things have naturally like improved just from like experience. But it kind of came from, I've always been like a massive like Travis Barker fan, and it kind of, I kind of picked up on the way that he did it, and then kind of where like the placement of it. Sometimes now kind of almost like acts as like a certain movement to kind of help me like count like a certain phase, or it's like a little pause. I kind of like, yeah, it's really it's strange to explain. It's almost like part in some songs. It's almost like, yeah,
Yeah,
it's almost like part of like the routine.
yeah.
I went to a concert a few months back now. I went to watch the drummer Rook play with Machine Gun Kelly on that tour. I think it was mainstream sellout tour, and he just kind of opened my eyes. It looks really cool when you see the drums in, and I was like, right, I need like a little bit of that, you know. But he was like kind of throwing them in the air, like you just catch them, yeah, and like it's absolutely insane.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah, I get inspired quite easily by other players like that, you know, that kind of like surprise, like, you know, flash effect, in a
yeah,
sense. So yeah, it's not. There's like a slight technique to it, but I don't really think about the technique now because I'm so comfortable with it.
it's just yeah, like natural to you
Yeah.
now when you do it. Yeah, yeah,
It kind of, at first it's like, you know, you start doing it live and, you know, trying some things out, and it's quite scary. It's like, make sure I've got spare sticks on the side and the angle I can reach in case something goes wrong. You always run the risk, no matter, you know,
yeah.
how much you do it.
Have you ever dropped a stick while you're doing the twirl and?
Yeah, it's been a few times for sure. Well, I always say to my students, so it's not about the mistake, it's about the recovery in that situation. You know?
Yeah, yeah. Because sometimes we probably won't. The audience won't probably notice it that you dropped it because if you immediately put another, pull another drumstick out and then do it, as quickly as you can.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, I think it's just so exciting when you see drummers doing things like that.
yeah.
With
It's
the twirling and maybe throwing sticks or and catching it.
I mean, yeah. I just think if I'm a drummer and I think it's cool, then, you know, other people are going to think it's cool, and, you know, it kind of really builds that excitement and stage presence for drummers. That is an area I sometimes feel like is quite overlooked. You know,
Yeah,
it's part of the act. You know, like I feel like, as a drummer, you can really captivate quite a lot and kind of make the band or artist you're playing with look a lot better. Even if you look like you're enjoying yourself, and just kind of share like the presence where you make it feel like a unit rather than just like leaving it to everyone else as a drummer. There are things that we can do to kind of like really captivate and engage an audience.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Because I just think whenever I go to a gig, I always make sure that I position myself where I can see the drummer, and then I can sort of like, see their style and see the way they sort of like that. Because sometimes they're just sort of like hidden, and it's like they are part of the band. It's not like the singer or the guitarist. There's the drummer as well. So no,
We're normally like in the back, aren't we? Just hidden away. But
yeah. Although, mind you, at the Pear Hat, it's so dark that you can't actually see even the singer. You can't see the singer properly because it's just so dark in there.
It was a fun gig. It was a fun gig.
So apart from dropping the stick sometimes, have you ever had any other drumming accidents or disaster, as I call it?
I've had one where like the toppers, the screws you get on top of the cymbal. So one of those was loose before and it fell off, and then I hit the cymbal and the cymbal just went flying in the air and like landed on my snare drum mid gig.
Oh god.
That was interesting. And then I've also had, I was playing the gig before and I was doing like this like sort of like big drum roll. I was using like really thick sticks and I just went pop, and like on my nose I just started.
Oh
no! Mid gig. Oh. That was fun as well. That was interesting.
Oh no!
had to spend some time after the gig cleaning.
Oh dear! But you had to sort of like carry on, of course, because I have seen sort of like a band, and the drummer hurt himself and cut sort of like just below his eye, and I could see it's like blood coming out of his face, but he just carried on, sort of like playing. I'm like, oh dear.
Later.
What about drumming heroes?
Ooh.
Do you have any drumming heroes?
There's a few. I think the first person I really watched growing up was, unfortunately, like the late Taylor Hawkins. He was like one of the first people I properly watched and got inspired by. Really ashamed to hear of his passing.
Yeah.
It's quite shocked, that one. But then I'm quite inspired by sort of like the prog rock guys as well, like Neil Peart, Michael Portnoy, Mike Mangini as well, like the Dream Theater guys. And then I've always been a big Travis Barker fan as well. He's like a big one for me in terms of stage presence and the way that he looks when he plays. I've found that has resonated with me quite a lot. And then there's definitely a couple more people like of course classic like Ringo Starr. I mean, who doesn't love Ringo Starr?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So when you go to a gig, do you actually sort of like look at the drummer and then sort of like say, oh, I can do that, or I want to do that? And so
I think as a musician sometimes it's quite hard to ignore like comparison, or like they can do that better than me, or it's just cool. I think everyone plays drums a little bit differently and everyone's sounds a bit differently. If you got like 100 people, drummers in a room, and told them to play the same thing, everyone would sound a little bit different. I think like that unique identity which everyone has behind the kit is what really makes them the drummer they are.
Yeah,
that's cool. If it's the thing that they can do and only they can do, that's also cool. I can just take inspiration and make it my own. It's quite a personal, it's a really personal instrument. It's quite easy to have like your own unique sound.
Yeah, that's true now. But so, being a drum tutor, what advice would you give to sort of like aspiring drummers?
Practice rudiments, rudiments.
Rudiments, yeah,
If you've got 10 minutes spare before, say, you need to go and do something, or if you've for any reason, if you've only got 10 minutes, practice your rudiments, and you
yeah,
should spend some time playing those, and you should be good. Of course, there's always like a bunch of advice, but that's like my short five advice. Like snappy, rudiments are key, important. They make up everything that you play on the kit, so very important.
the paradiddles and stuff. I still find
Yeah,
it funny whenever when you hear the paradiddles. But what would you say to sort like drummers? Well, amazing drummers, but actually don't know much about their paradiddles or something.
but yeah,
But surely they must know if they're an amazing drummer. They must know
yeah.
this thing
I,
as well.
I always compare them to like their air equivalent of scales on a guitar. Always kind of compare them to that. Like, I guess like I've never touched a guitar in my life, but I can imagine that the first thing you learn is like that C major scale on the guitar in terms of scales. Like your singles, your double strokes, your paddles is like that equivalent. I would say. So yeah, it's very
Yeah.
very important.
Well, before I let you go, before I let you sort of like go to your gig this evening or this afternoon, there's a poster there behind you. It's Alex Ohm.
Um,
Is that a current one? Because are you doing a tour or you've got some few dates coming?
we've got like a few dates in July, a couple in August. There will be more soon. But yeah, there's sort of a TB, to be announced. But yeah, that poster was actually fun. We played the opening launch party for Eclipse Records in Warsaw. So
Oh,
that's quite a while. That was back in October. That was October last year, and
yeah,
I
yeah.
need to frame it. I just haven't got around to framing it yet.
But
No, she's
any,
very at the moment.
yeah, are they also, is that signed by the band members like yourself?
Uh,
Because I
It's
do
an
collect
idea.
posters.
Definitely
Uh,
an idea.
yeah.
But,
Any Manchester dates or
not
Liverpool? Or...
not yet. No, not yet. We'll
Oh,
see. We'll see what the future. We'll see what the future brings.
yeah, because I'd really love to sort of like see you and Alex home again soon. Hopefully. Well, I think the best way of finding out the gig dates are from the Facebook page, right? There's an
Yeah,
official
yeah,
Alex Home. I know there's an Alex Home personal page, but there's an official band page as well.
yeah. Everything
Um,
will be on there. I think it's Alex Home Music across all the platforms.
yeah.
Yeah, Alex Home Music. I think that was recently changed to be the same on Instagram as well, very very recently. So yeah, it's all the same across all socials now.
Okay, all right. Well, do you want to say anything else? Invite everyone to sort of like go because are they mainly in Birmingham or West Midlands you're playing?
Yeah, we mainly like Birmingham based. We've been doing a lot of stuff up north lately. We played in Doncaster last night. At a festival called Summer of Love. Um,
Yeah.
then yeah, we got a date in Barnsley as well this summer.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's a nice area.
Okay. Well, thank you so much,
No,
Thomas. That's
thank you for having me.
I'm really sorry about that technical
Oh, it's
issue
okay.
earlier, but I'm glad that you so like stayed with me and
That's
didn't
okay.
give up on me. So, thank you so much.
No, thank you.
And
Thank you for having me.
yeah,
It's been really good. Really good to
oh,
have a chat and about drums, everything drums.
yeah, thank you, and good luck with everything. And have a great gig tonight.
Ciao,
And
ciao.
hopefully, I'll see you and Alex home again someday soon.
Yeah, be looking forward to it.
All right. Thanks, Thomas. Bye for now.
Thanks. Take care.
Yeah.
Bye bye.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. That's amazing. I mean, you do have. If you haven't heard of Alex Ohm, the band, Do check them out because they really are good. And Thomas, he's absolutely amazing. You've got to see him perform and play the drums. When you go and see Alex home. But anyways, yeah, thank you for. I do apologize for that happened again, that loop thing, but we will fix it. And then before we put it on, upload it on Facebook. Not on Facebook, on YouTube. We'll get it sorted and everything. We'll remove that looping bit. We still don't know how to what's causing it, but anyways, that's live broadcast for you. But anyways, yeah, thanks a lot. And next week, we're gonna have another amazing guest, another from Scotland. So as always, God, I don't know what I'm saying. As always, love music, love live, love drummers. The drummers are absolutely amazing. So hope to see you all again next week. Bye for now. Bye. Bye.